As our attendees sort of start to get settled in for our webinar this afternoon, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us. My name is Frank McNally from Public Spend Forum. This is another webinar in our series on procurement technology, presented by Public Spend Forum and the Institute for Public Procurement, NIGP. We've got a really exciting session for you today. If we can advance to the next slide, I could thank our sponsor, Periscope Holdings Incorporated. We appreciate you being a part of this today. If I could just say a few quick words about Public Spend Forum, please, on the next slide. Public Spend Forum is a market intelligence platform for public sector buyers and suppliers. We offer supplier and market knowledge, data, best practice frameworks and standards, tools, information and training on how to improve your position as a public procurement professional. We also offer a great community and network of peers from experts in public procurement all across the globe, state, local, federal, international. And you can find all these great resources at publicspendforum.net. So please visit us today and learn a little bit more. I do want to introduce our speakers for today. We've got a great panel of guests here. Jeffrey Haag is the Procurement Administrator for the state of Nevada, and Brian Utley is the Chief Executive Officer for Periscope Holdings. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves a little bit more if you'd like, and I will turn it over to Jeff and Brian. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Frank, and thanks to the Public Spend Forum and our partners at Periscope for the great state of Nevada to have the opportunity to share with you a little bit today about our procurement transformation. So before I introduce myself, Brian, do you want to kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll jump into our conversation this morning?
Sure, sounds great, Jeff. First, I want to thank Public Spend Forum for allowing us this opportunity for the presentation. I also want to thank Jeff and his team in the great state of Nevada. It's been a fabulous partnership so far, and we're looking forward to many years to come, and looking forward to sharing a little bit about the great state of Nevada story. So, take it away, Jeff.
Well, thanks, Brian, and thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. We're certainly excited and proud of the work that we've done here and anxious to share it with all of you. So first, let me give you a little bit of background on myself and kind of how I had the opportunity to serve as the administrator at the State Purchasing Office. I've been in my role for about 3.5 years now. I came to the state from over 20 years of private sector experience, doing a range of procurement and contracting, customer service, leadership roles, and just really excited to be able to leverage that here at the State Purchasing Office in Nevada. I joined the state at a time, like many of you, where you were probably coming out of the Great Recession. We were definitely at a period where there was not a lot of investing in the business of government, and I think we were a little bit stagnant. And so it was an opportunity for us to kind of reinvigorate the team, change our focus on our philosophy, and make sure that we're laser focused on meeting the needs of our customer. So this morning, I'd like to just walk everybody through our goals that we're striving for in our transformation, the great team of individuals that we have in our approach, and then the conversation will turn quickly to technology and our partnership with Periscope and how we're trying to leverage technology to enable us to better serve our customer agencies and our constituents in Nevada. Let me say first that this is absolutely a project in motion. We'll give you timelines as to where we are along the way, but this is an evolving process that, you know, quite honestly, we're just in the beginning of what will be a great transformation. So our goals were pretty easy. To be honest with you, I think there was a healthy recognition within the team that we needed to evolve from a very transactional-based environment to really establishing state purchasing as a value-creating partner for our customers. And to do that, we wanted to make sure that we were aligning ourselves with our customers in the most thoughtful way possible to leverage the experience that we bring. Our process was completely manual prior to our adoption of an e-procurement system. Outside of a very basic vendor database, all of our transactions were done in a very manual format. And I think it's important to understand that we in Nevada are structured in a way that we handle all of the state's commodity purchases over $50,000 and services over $100,000. So anything from custodial supplies to our employees' healthcare contracts, those solicitations and contracts are handled through this office. And for that magnitude of work to be done in a manual way for the number of years that it was, automation was something that we all realized that we needed pretty readily and quite honestly pretty quickly. And most importantly, we knew that we had a lot of big decisions to make, and we realized that we probably didn't have the data that we needed to make those decisions. So we wanted to make sure that as we entered into the age of really tackling the complicated issues in the state, that we had a technology solution and that we were driving towards the data that allowed us to be that value-creating partner, but to enable us to make data-driven decisions.
Hey, Jeff, I think another thing that I thought was really interesting in your transformation goals is, we hear a lot of talk about the Agile Approach in procurement. Our first experience with you is how you selected us as your partner, and I thought it was extremely agile, extremely creative. I mean, you talk about a little for a minute. I think it would be helpful to people. Getting to these goals was that selection process. I mean, it was more of an RFI. You look for a partner was best fit. It wasn't a long, drawn-out RFP. It was really putting a lot of these goals into action, right off the bat in the selection process.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Brian. And I think we'll get into that very topic a little bit more in the presentation. But absolutely, I think we had to leverage the experience that we had collectively in the office first. Because it was the experience that we needed in Nevada, and we needed to ensure that the technology partner that we chose had the ability to complement the good work and the good efforts that were already going on. So you're right, we did take an agile approach. I would say it was, even a bit of a deviation of agile in that it was very interactive. Our team here in state purchasing, key stakeholders engaging face-to-face with those leading e-procurement providers at the time, and we began this initiative early on in 2015, and then went through that, that iteration that ultimately led us up to a decision that we'll talk about here in a little bit, if that's okay with you.
Great, perfect.
So let me brag on the team here for a minute, if I could. We've got 25 mighty members of the State Procurement Office here in Nevada. They bring well over 100 years of procurement experience, and the vast majority of that right here at the State Purchasing Office in Nevada. So we're tremendously lucky to have that level of just institutional knowledge and perspective on the state's buying practices dating back many, many decades. We over the last couple of years have organized them into 3 working groups. We refer to procurement services as kind of the pre-award. So they're the acquisition support team for the state. They're running the solicitations. They're leading our state agencies through a needs assessment that helps us ensure that that scope of work is as informed as possible, that we've evaluated the procurement strategies that are available, and we're leading with the best solicitation possible. And then we've created a new team for us here in Nevada. It's called the Central Contract Unit. We refer to them as the post-award group. So these folks are responsible for the post-award relationship with our supplier partners and our customer agencies that are utilizing those contracts. And the purpose is to fundamentally educate our customers on what contracts are available out there from a statewide perspective, but also to engage with the supplier community quarterly and to make sure that the performance metrics in those contracts are being adhered to and that our mutual needs are being met. And then our procurement operations team, these folks are comprised of our system administrator. They're responsible for the training function, state and federal surplus. And then one key component of our team that doesn't get the love that he would like is our legal support. So just 2 years ago, we were successful in getting approval for a position for our own in-house general counsel. We also still have statutory responsibility to work with the Attorney General's office, which we do, but having our own in-house legal counsel who has the ability to understand what we do and how we do it and build that strategic relationship from a legal perspective with the Attorney General's office has been invaluable and really just a growing resource, not only for us, but here in state purchasing, but for our customers as well.
Yeah, I'll chime in a little bit on this too. Is Jeff's team's been wonderful. They've been a fantastic team to work with. I think something that's really interesting about your team, Jeff, is you guys coming to Austin to see us to really explore our new development and sit with our team and look at new product, how we can build it out, how we can make it better for, procurement services, contract management, and procurement operations to use technology to enable all those different pieces of the puzzle. I think one thing that's been interesting that's come out of that is the new contract management stuff you need to do around the human trafficking, sexual harassment, tracking that's come out of the recent, new governor stepping in, and how those teams can use technology to help manage those processes and track those new requirements.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Brian. I appreciate that you recognize that. I think that was hard for us in Nevada to convince our leadership that we needed to engage with the technology partner in a way that was different than how we've engaged with technology partners across the state in the past. I remember the conversation with our leadership when we wanted to come out to Austin and sit down with you guys, but as I mentioned, this is very much a project in motion, and as we'll talk about further on, we're pretty tickled about the technology that we're experiencing today, but we're even more excited about the technology that we're co-creating with you guys tomorrow, for tomorrow. So having that type of evolving relationship in the technology space is really important. And then to the point that you mentioned, we have a new governor, as 35 of my cohorts in state procurement offices across the country do. And he has different expectations of the suppliers that we do business with. And for us to be able to leverage our technology solution in Nevada ePro to address his concerns around sexual harassment and discrimination policies, it was awesome. And I think it created an opportunity for us to demonstrate the value of state procurement and the value of thoughtful technology in state procurement. So let's talk a little bit about the consultative approach. As we get into this transformation, as I mentioned, we have over 100 years of procurement experience in the office. And we had to find a way to leverage that experience in the most thoughtful way possible. But we found ourselves in a very reactive environment that didn't allow us to align with our customers in the thoughtful way that we wanted to. So you know, we are going through really a cultural shift and re-educating our customers on the value that state purchasing can bring to their organization and enabling their organization to deliver their mission in the most thoughtful and cost-effective way possible. We were very siloed in state purchasing from the perspective of we had staff who only did commodities or would only do services, and we wanted to ensure that that they were cross-utilized and that they had the ability to do both goods and services, because as the complexity of our business was evolving, as I'm sure many of you have discovered, oftentimes goods and services are complementary and go together. So we wanted to make sure that we were set up for success to be able to tackle any procurement need that came across our desk. And then we changed how we supported our customers fundamentally. In the past, we handled solicitations on a first-come, first-served basis. We had a degree of category management when it came to common commodities, but it wasn't necessarily working to meet the customer's needs. And so we decided that we were going to align our procurement staff with the departments that we were tasked to support, and helping them meet their core needs of their agency in the most effective way possible. And this was a really key component. I don't know if you want to touch on this, Brian, as we evaluated a technology solution, because of course we wanted the technology to manage the enterprise environment, if you will, the statewide contract portfolios, the rules and regulations around the procurement process. But we also knew that there was going to need to be some localization, and we needed to make sure that that localization could be realized in the technology. I don't know if you want to expand on that, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, are you talking about how the licensing component helped the locals and the different way we approach that?
You bet.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting about what we do at Periscope is we have some unusual licensing. We license to the state, but that license trickles down, or SaaS or subscription fee trickles down to the locals. So the locals are allowed to use it for their bidding, their solicitations, bidding, vendor registration, and some CLM and buying off a state contract. What we really look at Periscope, we don't try to license on a user basis. Our viewpoint is, let's get as many people or entities on the solution as we can, and that includes locals, universities, school districts, special districts. Let's get as many users. Let's get as much buying as we can get. Let's build a cloud for the state. And that is a unique licensing. We've seen other people try to mimic it in the market, but it always seems to be that it still costs locals some kind of money to get on the solution. So our goal is always to partner with the state and build this cloud that really helps enable the locals to utilize the solution. We also provide training services for them, rollout services, and we partner with the state. If the state needs some extra resources to roll out those locals, we're happy to step in and be a partner. But I think it's really a unique subscription that we supply in the market.
And I think for Nevada, that was absolutely critical. We were, as we'll talk about here in a minute, very purposeful in seeking a best-of-breed solution. But it was paramount that that solution was applicable and available in an incredibly cost-effective way for everybody in the state, really thinking of those rural areas first. So we talk a lot in the office about if we can meet our most complicated need first, those with easier needs should come, a little bit easier or come within that more complicated, the solution to that more complicated need. And so as we look for technology, making sure that it was available to all within the state was really paramount. And then the last piece of that consultative approach, right, to be more more solutions oriented for our customers was to make sure that we were leveraging the tools in our toolbox. We're fortunate in Nevada, as I'm sure many of you are, to have various procurement tools to leverage when we need to meet our customers' needs, when we need to meet our own needs, and we wanted to make sure that we were leveraging those tools as thoughtfully as possible and considering them at every opportunity. So the consultative approach was really great. We did a lot of really intensive training with our team because it was really a cultural shift, a lot of engagement with our customers. The problem that we realized early on was that we didn't have the time to be as consultative as we needed to be, as our customers wanted to be. And so we really needed to track down some automation, a technology solution that would complement our new approach and really give our employees the time to engage more thoughtfully with our customers, to pick up that transactional load, if you will, that we've been so focused on historically. So
I think Jeff, the other thing from a consultative approach, I always say to our customers, 50% of the equation is technology. The other 50% is the services and the consultative services that we can do to help partner with you on. So a lot of times I think groups look at technologies and they get stuck on demos and they get stuck in the demo process instead of really looking at track records, looking at, how good the services team is. Are they a services team that's built around the product, or are they some outside services team that's implementing and really not looking at the company that's providing the full solution? It's more of a solution set. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I absolutely. For us, it was in Nevada, right? And I think everybody's looking for something different in a technology solution. We were laser focused out of the gate, and not identifying a laundry list of requirements and forcing a technology solution to develop around those requirements. We were laser focused on, and our process allowed us to engage in conversations with e-procurement providers across industry, public and private alike, to understand what their best practices were, what success stories they had experienced with customers similar to us, and how could they take those experiences and best leverage them for the state of Nevada. Understanding and being very upfront, Brian, as you know, that we were wanting to evolve our policies and practices around that best-of-breed technology solution. And so we didn't want, fancy outside consultants to come in and tell us how the technology should be configured. We wanted a technology partner that understood their technology and had demonstrated experiences that they could leverage to benefit Nevada. And, so far so good.
Right.
So we sought out on our procurement automation strategy, and, really, again, plain and simple, our goal in the office was to automate as much of the process as was absolutely possible. We wanted to create a one-stop shop environment. We wanted our customers to be able to go to Nevada ePro and facilitate all of their needs in one location. We wanted the technology to, for those of you with kids, you'll appreciate the bumpers and the gutters at the bowling alley, but we really wanted the technology to be the bumpers at the bowling alley, right, where our customers were confident transacting within it, and that they were confident that technology solution was going to ensure their compliance with the rules and regulations that draft the state's procurement policy. we're wanting to create, and I'll say that we're not there, but we're having exciting conversations where we can allow the choice environment that our customers are asking for, but create a dynamic marketplace where everybody can compete for Nevada's business on a level playing field. So whether you're, Bob's True Value in Lovelock, Nevada, or you're Amazon, that you have a dynamic marketplace where you can compete equally for our business. It had to be mutually beneficial, right? Both to us as a government entity within the government entities within the state of Nevada, but the technology also had to enable our supplier community. It was absolutely paramount that the efficiencies that we saw within our end of the system, that there were similar efficiencies on the supplier portal piece of the technology as well. Periscope's BidSync technology just has brought a lot of capabilities to us, increased competition, and a lot of supplier enablement that we hear readily from our suppliers that they're thankful for. So, Brian, do you want to expand on that piece at all? I think focused on that also.
Yeah, I mean, we focus on the BidSync application. Also, it actually brings where we don't just work with, most of the e-procurement providers work with the agency and not the supplier. Well, since we have the BidSync technology and we have 500,000 suppliers that get bids there every day, we are working with 500,000 bids. Vendors on a daily basis. So we understand that. We uniquely understand that vendor side of the equation and vendor enablement, which is a lot of times one of the toughest parts to get right in one of these implementations. I think it's also a great solution for your vendors in Nevada to be able to find business outside of the state. They have the opportunity to see bids all across the country and RFPs and solicitations. But it also will enable us in the new product, as Jeff has seen, that we're rolling out in April, the new marketplace. It will allow those vendors not just to get opportunities, but they're also going to be able to load their catalogs and have opportunity for entities to acquire their goods and services. At the same time, with that new marketplace, as Jeff talked about, where he's very involved, the state of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is extremely involved, is this new open buying, where you'll have all sorts of co-op prices hosted, but the Jeff and his team will get to choose which ones are seen, which ones are not seen. Is it lowest price he's buying off? He's going to be able to configure this marketplace for the needs of the state. So it's kind of two different solutions, but it all kind of wraps around the supplier and the agency connecting together.
Yeah, we're super excited about the new marketplace and just the ability it's going to allow for suppliers to engage with us. It really engaged with government in general in a more thoughtful way. So we certainly benefit from that. And then obviously data, right? At the end of the day, that is what we're after. We want to make data-driven decisions in Nevada. We feel largely that we're data deprived today. And so as we pursued this technology solution, we wanted to make sure that one, we had the ability for total transparency. I personally think that is a benefit to us in government, to have that transparency, to leverage each other's experiences, and to learn from each other in a way that allows us to collectively, drive value to our customer, to be more prudent stewards of our tax dollars. We wanted our supplier community, I think, back to engaging with our suppliers in a more thoughtful way. We wanted the opportunity for them to tell us what was most important to them. We also wanted in Nevada to understand who we were doing business with in a thoughtful way. We're fortunate in that we don't have a lot of preferences or set-aside requirements in Nevada. We do have a preference for veterans, disabled-owned businesses. We have a local preference law now, but we have an interest in understanding how our suppliers approach equal pay for equal work. We talked earlier about Governor Sisolak's desire to understand sexual harassment and discrimination policies. So the self-certification, we've enabled it to be self-certification, but the certification functionality within BuySpeed was really paramount to allow us to engage better with our customers. The spend tracking, one of the things that we were really looking for in this data set was the ability to convey to leadership within the state where our dollars were going down to the zip code. And so that level of detailed spend tracking was something that we needed, and we were excited that that was technology that Periscope could bring to us. As I mentioned, that post-award contract management is new for us, but something that we're focused on. And so that automated piece of contract management was really important. And then the procurement simplification, right, for our customers, so we could give them more autonomy around the procurement process. The technology really enabled us to do that. So Brian mentioned before our kind of agile approach to the procurement strategy. We engaged in an interactive RFI, if you will, with subject matter experts, e-procurement providers across the industry. We went through an evaluation process with stakeholders. We evaluated those tools in our toolbox that we mentioned earlier, and we landed on Periscope for several reasons. One is, I think throughout our engagement, although we were really intrigued by solutions that had deep experience within the private sector, we were very concerned about that private sector experience transitioning and being effective in our public sector world. And so the deep experience within government became ever more important as we went through the process. We talked before the importance to Nevada in having this technology solution available to local governments was absolutely critical. It had to happen, and it had to be able to meet the needs of both large and small local government clients and customers. We weren't sure when we started this process how we were going to pay for the project. So having a partner who had various funding models, various demonstrated approaches to how the solution could be paid for was really important. And then we needed a partner that would evolve with us. We knew that we weren't going to be able to take a technology solution off the shelf, plug it in, and it was going to meet all of our needs in Nevada. We wanted a really great first start, but we needed a partner that was going to evolve with us over time. And so we sensed that Periscope, the BuySpeed and BidSync products for Nevada, presented an opportunity for nimbleness that quite honestly the other solutions that we explored didn't bring. And so we move forward with the opportunity where we are. So Brian, I don't know, I'd like to give kind of a place and time on where we are in our implementation, but do you want to talk any more on the decision-making process?
You know, jokingly a little bit, I think the really reason you chose this is because you have my cell phone number, and as CEO, you just call me anytime you I mean, it's kind of a joke, but it's true. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, your access to me and Chris, our COO, and our CTO, and that it's not just, you know, even though, you know, it's not just you're talking to the project manager. We're at the C level, we're active participants in our customers and the health of our customers, and that we, you know, we're actively engaged in these projects to make sure we're supplying what your needs are.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And now every future customer is going to expect your cell phone too, so you're going to be a busy guy. But no, I think obviously for all the reasons everybody knows, access to leadership matters. But I think that goes on both sides. I think you would also say that our success is also largely contributed to the fact that everybody within our organization is engaged and supportive of this project, as everybody within your organization is engaged and focused on this project. And I think that, that's paramount in projects of this size and scope when you're evaluating, implementing technology across any space in our collective organizations. You've got to have buy-in at all levels to ensure success. I think what's been extra special about our situation here is because of our agile approach to this, because we didn't require a technology solution to develop around us, but rather we're developing around you. I mean, I don't know what you would say, Brian, but I think that we're leveraging, those known experiences, but we're also evolving in a way that that meets our needs in Nevada, but also meets a need of procurement approach and government in general.
I totally agree with that. I mean, I think one of the things that makes you guys successful, it's painful to change processes. We all know that in government. I mean, I came out of government myself, and that's a very difficult thing to do. But I commend you and your team of, hey, we need to look at our processes, not hand. And I think in this market, people hand these huge spreadsheets of requirements, right? And it's like it's like a kitchen sink, and that's what's thrown out there. And a lot of times, only half of that gets used. The way I think you guys approached it from an agile approach is, hey, we're going to change our processes. We're going to look at this as a soup to nuts deal, but we're going to look at our processes. We're going to look at the technology, but at the same time, you're going to help us develop some things that take not only you and your team to the future, but our team to the future. So it's truly a partnership approach. And I think the really great thing about the state of Nevada is you've also had you've had the executive support. You've had, the top, how this is, Jeff, if the executive branch is not totally in support, it makes it really difficult. And you've had that support, but you've gotten that support by your ability to sell up to them how important it is.
Yeah, no, I agree, right? I think we have to look for opportunities to demonstrate the value of the technology, certainly.
Yes, and it's you and your team leading the charge for the transformation, which has gained you so much respect at the legislative branch and the executive branch for what your team's doing.
It's been exciting. So so just to give everybody kind of a place and time and where we are in our e-procurement onboarding process, we entered into contract with Periscope in July of 2017. We quickly began implementation and rollout of the sourcing side of the technology, and early on in that process decided quickly that we needed financial integration. And so we kind of moved phase 2, which had been initially scheduled for a year or two out, up in our timeline and chased down an initiative for financial integration. Let me take a step back. I mentioned before the funding models. We in the state decided to pursue an admin fee on statewide contracts to fund our e-procurement solution. So we passed a law in the 2017 legislative session that enables us to assess the administrative fee on statewide contracts. And again, in support of our goals throughout this process, that is a financial investment in technology that absolutely benefits government agencies at all levels within the state of Nevada, but also supports our supplier partners as well. And so we look at that fee as an investment from our supplier partners, and it is incredibly important to us that they're getting a return on that investment and they're benefiting from the technology that we're developing and implementing for all of them. So financial integration wrapped up in December of last year, and we are beginning rollout to state agencies now. So it's been really exciting. So, you know, I think more detailed of what we've been talking about in the efficiencies that we're beginning to see and the value that Nevada ePro BuySpeed is providing to the state of Nevada. But that spend data is really critical. As we're beginning to see some of that data now, we're starting to evaluate and use that to determine how statewide contracts will be renegotiated. The new catalog is being used in a way, and it's growing out very quickly, and it's provided a more intuitive shopping environment for our customers, which they're very thankful for. Our staff here in state purchasing, who have lived within this technology the longest, are really starting to appreciate the benefits of the automation that it's providing. They're seeing the time gains as the technology is performing those manual duties that they had spent so much time on in the past. Brian, do you want to expand on any of the kind of the key features that we're starting to feel here?
Yeah, I think, you know, kind of the key features we're really starting to see is we went through the strategic sourcing project with you guys, and we're starting to see the getting different contracts in place and getting that loaded. I think that the main thing that we worked with for a while, as you know, is that integration. You know, you have an older technology in place, which is one of our specialties. We integrate to anything and everything. So we had to work through the older technology and its old mainframe, and you know that we got that into place. So we've been ready to roll out. So I think right now we're in the rollout process. We're rolling out to those agencies so we can gain more access to data. We can make more. The state can make more data-driven decisions. We're going to be going through the rec-to-check process, so it's no longer manual efforts and the entire solicitation response. And I think that one of the key pieces as we roll out is going to be the conversion. So very easy in BuySpeed. A lot of times now you get your RFPs in, and you may award those electronically. And even some places that have technology environments, you have the RFP process that is electronic. Well, you award, and then you got to take that award and you got to plug it somewhere. It may go into an ERP. You may have to do data entry. You may have to do data entry into a catalog that you have separate, or it may just be on paper. The great thing about BuySpeed, from a process standpoint, from an audit standpoint, is once the solicitation is awarded, you hit award, it automatically builds that contract. There's no double entry, which can automatically become a shoppable catalog. So I think that's what what the state is going through right now is implementing that entire process. So it's really the rec-to-check with solicitations and everything. And then it's we're excited about rolling out to the agencies over the next, I think, most of them we're going to go fast in, I think, 5 months, Jeff.
Yeah, well, you know me, I'm short on patience, unfortunately, and we're anxious to get this out into people's hands. And listen, I think as you know, Brian, we've been very fortunate because folks they're excited about the technology. They're excited about the automation, and we've teased this system for the last year and a half, and so we're thankful that we've got a long list of customers that have their hands up ready to onboard it. You also mentioned, I think, an important point that I probably glossed over in the financial integration. Obviously, that's an important piece to this project, and it really enables us to take advantage of the full technology suite. But I think it's something, given the fact that we're working on a 20-year-old unsupported financial system in the state, there's a lot of trepidation to explore financial integrations when you're working off that type of financial system. But we're slow and purposeful in our approach, and we were successful in that integration, which I think is great, and we're going to benefit from it as a result. So.
And then the next step is, I know you guys are going out for ERP, and then that will be a real-time integration. It's not like, your solution's a throwaway. It evolves into that next generation of financial system or ERP that you bring to the table.
Absolutely right. And I think it speaks to the whole spirit of the project, where it is really a continuous evolution in bettering our environment. And so, you're exactly right. ERP is on the street for Nevada right now, so we're excited to go through that solicitation process. And e-procurement is a core component, will be a core component of our new ERP system. So, again, we were purposeful in putting them in that order and ensuring that that again, with our new ERP provider, that they're able to leverage the best of the state's e-procurement system. So,
hey, Jeff, one thing I want to shoot into, I want people on the call to feel like you can type in questions. We love questions, so questions are great. So feel free to type in any questions you may have for Jeff and I.
Yeah, you're reading my mind, Brian. So we're coming down to the last couple slides on the presentation. Please submit your questions, and we'd love to have some dialogue at the end here. So again, as I mentioned, we're about a year and a half into the project. Vendor registration launched first. We have over 5,000 vendors registered today. I mentioned our old vendor management system in the past. It had just north of 7,000 vendors registered. So we're pretty excited about the progress that we've made and the enrollment that we've seen within vendor registration, and really getting great participation there. Brian mentioned the BidSync supplier portal and the 500,000 or more vendors that BidSync brings to our ecosystem here in Nevada. That has been excellent. It has enabled competition in solicitations that we quite honestly stalled out in. Our customers have been really happy about that. So those are things that we've really been able to take advantage of. I mentioned the self-certification process before. That has proven incredibly valuable in the very early days of this new administration, as we were gifted an executive order and challenged to go out and engage with existing and future suppliers of the state on what their sexual harassment and discrimination policies are, and to be able to use our e-procurement system to be able to do that was really of significant value. We've seen significant reductions in our procurement cycle time and approval processes. We haven't put definitive numbers on that yet, but we're seeing that we're saving months in the procurement cycle time, and approvals of solicitations prior to release was in excess of 3 days prior to e-procurement, and we're seeing those approvals getting done in less than 18 hours now. So pretty great. Brian, any key benefits maybe that you guys have realized on the supplier side as our project has matured?
Yeah, I mean, from you guys, we've learned how to better integrate that supplier side. I know we had some bumps in the middle of the road with how we were doing contacts out to those suppliers about the connection between, you know, the state system and the bid sync. So we learned a lot from your group on how to best implement that. I mean, we've learned a lot from you guys on how to do that. I think you're seeing benefits of the supplier network. I think you'll see even more benefits when the new marketplace comes out. We did have a couple questions. We had one that asked, you know, how many statewide users are going to be, how many users on the statewide system? I think that's an estimate right now because we're rolling out. But do you have an estimate of how many users will be using the system, say in, 24 months?
Yeah, so we have 28 departments, large agencies across the state, including constitutional officers. So they will all be users. We, as you alluded to, Brian, hope to be entering into a very intensive rollout schedule here the middle of February, where we will onboard 9 of our largest departments over the course of 5 or 6 months. And then, expanding that user base to our local government partners. We are well down the road on many conversations with them on their implementation of Nevada ePro and leveraging this technology. So I would say, within the next 24 months, well, I sure hope that all of our executive branch agencies, those 28 departments and our constitutional offices have transitioned. And I'd venture to say that along that time, we'll probably see at least 6, maybe more local government agencies jump on board.
So if you had to get an estimate, what we see in other states that are that size, and when we're talking somewhere around, 8,000 users, probably. Yeah,
I would say probably no more than that. Nevada isn't the largest government, but yeah.
Think about Health and Human Services and the requisitioners and state hospitals and all those kind of different things. I mean, I'm talking about just a simple requisitioner doing requisitioning. I'm sure there's tons of those.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, folks that are leveraging the new catalog and using that as a resource to go out there and shop for what they need. You bet. It'll quickly get up there.
There was a question on Health and Human Services contracting. Does the solution manage Health and Human Services? I mean, yes, I can answer that question. It manages Health and Human Services contracting. In all 7 of our states, we have Health and Human Services contract. In fact, in a few of our states, and I think, Jeff, you may be doing this, and you have specific contracts that sit at the Health and Human Services Agency or the Health Department that can be used from a cooperative perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are using Nevada ePro for all of our solicitations. So we're in the process of awarding our temporary medical RFP right now. Our healthcare plans, our Medicaid contract will be facilitated through Nevada ePro. So yes, absolutely. It'll facilitate those complex Health and Human Services contracts, and it will, and we are using it to manage those post-award relationships with those vendors as well. So. Any other questions, Brian, or we want to talk about kind of what we're working on moving forward?
Yeah, let's talk about, there's some questions, but let's talk about the looking forward. We got questions rolling in.
Yeah, so listen, I think this is another really piece of the partnership that's so important, and I think you would agree, Brian, that we're continuously looking forward. So we've talked about the rollout. And so that is in progress. As we roll out our existing functionality, we're already actively engaged in expanding that functionality. We've mentioned the catalog and the new dynamic marketplace, but we're looking for more robust contract lifecycle management that we've been thankful to engage with our partners at Periscope on, that should be on board later this year. We're wanting to mature some demand aggregation technology that already exists to allow us to engage more thoughtfully with our customers across government, including at the local level. We're also quickly establishing Nevada ePro as the point of origin for all things buying and contracting within the state. So, you know, our contracting, although we have broad responsibility over the procurement function, there's many contracts that aren't necessarily centrally managed and organized. And so we're leveraging the technology within e-procurement today, and that technology that we're developing with you all for tomorrow, to really enable ePro to be that central place, that place of origin for all buying and contracting in the state. And we're just really excited about having that central oversight over what we're doing from a buying and contracting perspective. We're also wanting to establish for the first time in Nevada an in-state cooperative. We at the state level historically have been very leveraged in cooperative contracts to meet our statewide needs. And so as we onboard this new technology solution, we're hoping to leverage its capabilities to engage with our local government partners more thoughtfully, and to establish a true in-state cooperative where we're leveraging our Nevada tax dollars to the best of our ability.
There was a question of how many local agencies are you contracting with? Well, I mean, the goal is to contract with all of them. The solution's free, so they can, you know, the locals can utilize the solution.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we hope for total adoption. I know that that's probably overly optimistic, but here's what we know today, and that is that statewide contracts that we have, they're using. And so if we can facilitate that transaction through a thoughtful technology solution, naturally, they should want to adopt more of the features and functionality.
I think, Jeff, today, can you track how many utilize your contracts? I mean, I know that's part of the solution. You'll be able to see that on anytime you want to click on it, you can see who's utilizing the contracts, but is it hard for you today to track who's actually even utilizing them?
We have no resources internally, Brian, to track who's using the contracts and to what degree. We're very dependent on our supplier partners to deliver that reporting, and we're thankful for that. But as I'm sure you know, even they're limited. Some of them are limited to the level of detail that they can provide as to who's buying off those agreements. And as anybody knows in our business, that level of data is really critical as you're as you're trying to be more strategic about your procurement needs.
I think someone had a great question from a local perspective. If they have like an existing CLM solution, or they have their own financial system, you know, how can they utilize the system? I think I can answer that, because I've seen so from a local perspective, you may want to have your own integration to the solution, because you may want to use, you know, the vendor, the solicitation, and order off contract. We have simple exports that are real easy for locals to pick up, so they can utilize pieces of the system, integrate to some of their internal systems. So that comes with the solution, these easy connection points.
You bet. What other questions did we have?
I think that's all. Because it's noon, so I'm not sure we can go over the time.
Oh, good. Awesome. Perfect timing. Frank?
Hey, thank you all both so much, Jeff and Brian, for the presentation, for your support of the webinar, and Periscope for your sponsorship. This was terrific information for our audience, and I'm sure we all learned something today. So thanks again. Any closing thoughts on your side before we sign off?
No, I think just from the state of Nevada's perspective, we're thankful for the opportunity to share our story about our transformation here. It's an evolving story, and we hope that we can continue to engage with our peers on how to do procurement best for government.
And I'd just like to thank Jeff and his team for all their support of Periscope and their partnership. I think it's been a fabulous partnership so far, and we look forward to the years to come.
Well, terrific. Thank you again both for your time, and for everyone in the audience for joining us today. We'll be sending a post-event email to you all with some additional information, so stay on the lookout for that and more great webinars from Public Spend Forum and NIGP. Thanks, and have a great afternoon or rest of your morning, depending on where you are in the world. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.